take care of you. Take care of you. I wrote you on and on. You never gave me an answer. Am I the only one? I didn't know it was over. Take care of you. Take care of you. Take care of you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well? Sorry for the delay in starting today's stream. We had just a brand new setup for us. I recently installed some hardware into my computer, so I was playing a little wonky, but really, hi, Cecily. Hi, Krissa. Really awesome to have you guys here today, and I'm excited to chat with you guys about a very meaningful and intentional topic to me that I care about deeply, which is how do you express yourself in a creative way that helps you get your message to the whole world. And obviously, that's something that we've been quite good at here in the community. And I wanted to show you a bit about the process that goes behind how I think about content creation, how I think about who I should be writing for, how I should be delivering it, and really why am I doing this all in the first place. And hopefully demystify a lot of the creative writing process for you so you can also figure out how you can get started for yourself. And of course, this is part of a bigger creative week for our community. This week, we're exploring a lot of ways to be more creative, like creating your own dashboards within the systems that you have inside your Notion systems or Obsidian or wherever you like to use. And then, of course, also joining us together in creating meaningful and intentional apparel inside our hackathon. So definitely check that out if you're inside the community. But without further ado, let's get straight into it and let's talk about how we're going to go ahead and create meaningful content that matters. So Coming into here, we actually have a system, a template of sorts that's called the creative content. Actually, I don't remember. It's content creation flow, I think is what I call it internally, but I think I call it something different for anybody else out there who's interested in this specific template. But basically, I want to walk you guys through a little bit of how this template works currently in its current form. And then what I'm going to do today to really show you how I'm going to go step by step and explaining each step of why the system works. And this is very important, right? If I can explain why, then you can build it too for yourself. Okay, so let's get straight into it. I'm very excited to get started, and it seems like everyone can hear me loud and clear. So let's get right into it, shall we? Okay, so in this dashboard, we call it the Writers Guild. The idea here is that at the very top, you know exactly who the creator is, so usually yourself, right? And then what the brand is known for. And why we have these two components is for consistency in your writing. Because if you know for certain exactly what kind of message and what kind of persona you're trying to, really push across for your audience, you end up being very clear and concise in how you can find the right audience for you and also how they can find you as well. So people who want to have this person who is going to be talking about these certain expertise topics, they like this kind of personality as they approach this creator, and they can listen and they can learn from them, and the lighter that makes them smile once in a while as they go through your content. These are all certain things that are very, very important for you to be able to really fine tune, so that when you go ahead and create multiple pieces of content, they don't end up missing the point because your audience is expecting a different kind of information from you. So this is a bit about, just fine tuning and having it top of mind. Usually I would have this as part of like a synced blocks of sorts. So you can really have that at the top for you. And this is one of the improvements we're going to make, being that we can put it on any dashboard we like. Another thing is, how to write good. This is just something funny I put there because I like to kind of really give the reverse pyramid approach, because I think that most people don't really get interested in the really deep information of like the background, the body of the content until they know, like, really why are we I do have to read this, who's involved, what's involved, where's involved, why, right, when. So all these different things are very important for you to really know exactly how engaging something you're writing or sharing can be for an audience, because as long as you answer all those questions in the first few lines, that's really, really important for you to get your content out there and for people to get hooked and continue reading, because you have a lot of information to share. You have a lot of good stuff to share. So how do we make sure that people can share that or digest that most effectively? Now, what's important here and where I want to make a point is that we all learned this before, right? If you've done any writing class before, or you're, just watching how to write, online, any video like this, honestly, a lot of these, experts would tell you the similar information, right? Start with a summary, start with a gist, start with something engaging, a hook. All these things are obviously very, very obvious, right, to a lot of people who are diving into this craft. But the way that I want to do it differently for you guys, and this is something that's really important to me and why we even build systems at all in the first place, is because we're giving you the opportunity to not only just know intuitively or maybe at the top of your screen the knowledge behind the actions that you have to take, but rather also giving you the actions itself, right? So if we know that we have to create a good hook, well, how do you create a good hook, right? What are the different things that we can ask ourselves while we're creating this content to make a good hook for us? So these are all things that are really important, in my opinion, to really just fine tune and make sure that they're exactly as you want it to be, right? Because the content at the end is going to be your craft, and all I'm doing here is supporting you in pursuing that. So let's go ahead and just brush through it a little bit more before I go into the nitty gritty details of some of the things that I've learned how to really help me write really good content. But another thing I want to share here is, we have a messaging module, which helps you also stay consistent in terms of which persona are you writing for, which storyline is this part of, which theme is this part of, right? Themes usually, you have a few themes of contents, right, that are evergreen. They don't necessarily change too much. If someone wants to find, for example, for me, how to be intentional, I'll always have a stream of content about being intentional. They can expect that. But for example, even being intentional, I might have different storylines. Maybe being intentional about not struggling alone. Maybe be intentional about life management systems. Maybe being intentional about self love. So, all these are different ways of being intentional, right? But these are different storylines which can bridge on different themes as well, which then can attract a lot of different people who are interested in solving a particular problem. So you can think of like storylines as like problem solving, right? I might even move this forward like this. So themes. So figure out who you're writing for first, then the theme you're writing for. Actually, theme first, sorry. Theme, who you're writing for, storyline, why you're writing it, the problem it's trying to solve, who is it for, right? Who's going to be very, um, very uh who's going to help the most, honestly, right? And then series is more like the format in which it's going to be out. So is it in the article format, a newsletter format, a family without borders, whatever it is. There's just examples from my own content creation, but it's also something that's going to help you hopefully as well as you continue writing. And maybe in sub series I'll just write format. Maybe that'll be easier. Format. Yeah, so format is probably better a better way to explain it. The next thing is also where am I sharing? So where am I sharing is also very important because it helps you understand like, okay, um, is this something that is going to be in an awareness channel, right? Meaning that it's supposed to be very quick, quippy, gets to the point, people can understand it, and then they can get attracted and read a bigger content after that. Is something in the interest funnel? Is something in the desire funnel, action funnel, retention funnel? Basically, all this means is that as content goes more and more deeper, right? You think of this as like a funnel for content, right? A funnel for people who are attracted to what you're writing about. Then you'll have a very clear way of seeing, like, as people go from the awareness stage to interest stage, usually a few people fall off, right? A percentage of them because it's getting more intentional, it's getting deeper, it's filtering out all the people that are not as interested in your content. But as you go slimming down, they'll be more excited to learn more and more deeper information about what you're writing, and they don't want surface level information anymore. So being able to separate out that is also very, very important. So let's go ahead and let's go into what's the main thing that I want to share today, which is being really intentional about how we're going to answer each of these questions so that we're writing something really good for that specific section that we're in. So for example, if I'm going to be writing something for an idea, what makes a really good idea? What takes an idea from just an idea to ready to start to writing? What takes something ready to start to be in progress, right? What takes something from in progress to review? So really setting out some milestones for yourself to really understand exactly, when can you move forward to the next step, and also make it really easy for you to go from step to step. So let's get into that. So if I open up idea, right, and I want to show you, we have some basic templates that I've already developed in the past, but here's where I'm going to make them a lot more robust. So let's start with articles first. We're going to do this for both articles and videos. Podcasts I'll probably skip for now, but you can learn from what I did for articles and videos to help you really fine tune your content and make it the best that it can be. So for articles, let's go ahead and edit this template because I want to just show you a bit about what it shows currently. And what we can see is, you have article here, you have, example created by, created on, and all those kind of things. And let's open this up as a new page so we can really plan this out. So what we want to do is we also want to talk about how much time we should be spending on each section as well. So typically I try to spend no longer than maybe, 6 pomodoros. Like it's already a lot actually, maybe 3 to 4 pomodoros for idea generation. Like ideally after 3 pomodoros, I can move on from idea to ready to start. Like that's already fleshed it well enough. And let's talk about like what is fleshing out, right? How much is fleshing out this pomodoro? So let's explain that. So usually when I start, and maybe I'll just start from scratch so that you guys can see exactly how I think about it, and of course also create your own step by step as well. So usually when I start creating some content, what I like to do is I like to start thinking from the end in mind. So if I go ahead and imagine this article to be very, very successful, how do I expect people to be sharing this content? What are the biggest nuggets of wisdom they can be getting from this one article that they can take on with them, and it's going to help them in their life, and also hopefully be very shareable so that they can tell their friends about it and their friends can get helped and everything like that. So what I try to do is I try to list 1 to 3 nuggets of wisdom. These are like the main like meat of this article that's going to be really, really helpful for anybody who's looking at this article. By the way, hi Sev, good to see you as well. I'm seeing a few more people coming in the chat. Lovely to see you guys. If you guys have any questions, by the way, feel free to ask as we go along. I'm really happy to answer any questions because this is, again, a very collaborative live stream. The intention is that we can build this together. So for shareable nuggets of wisdom, right? So I'll give a good, little pitch on this. It's like, imagine your reader only gets, 2 to 3 pieces of knowledge from your sharing. What is it? So here is where you're going to go ahead and just try to get 3 pieces of knowledge here, and then you just put it down. So usually it will be in a sentence format. So it'll be like, hey, for example, if I'm writing something about gamification, let's say one of the takeaways is that, life can be easy, life can be fun, life can be enjoyable. You don't have to make work so fun, so tough rather, or so serious, and you can actually enjoy your craft, right? That's probably one big idea. Another big idea is that it can be very easy to get started. You don't have to, do a lot of things to just get started with the Make Work Fun app, for example, right? That's another big idea. And the third big idea perhaps would be something about, when you're gamifying, always try to bridge some past experience that you had, maybe a game that you used to play, maybe an experience that you really liked, and bridge that into your work now so that you carry on those feelings of dopamine, of enjoyment, of all those different positive feelings that you remember, and bring that into your work today. So this is really like what I'm thinking about here when I'm doing the initial shareable nuggets of wisdom. But while I'm still in the planning stage, I also want to figure out like, okay, well, what is this idea all about, right? I do want to try to flesh out this idea a little bit. So for fleshing out the idea, I usually like to do it in a messaging module kind of way. So let me show you what that means. So basically, when I'm going ahead here and you see there's a filter here for this article, you're going to see that in a sec when we actually generate it. But basically what happens is when you have this article opened up, you'll be able to see exactly what messaging modules that you can apply this towards. So for this, based on these shareable nuggets of wisdom, what what storyline am I writing for, right? What theme is it part of? What format should I write it in? What's the persona? So this is really like where I start like fine tuning more details about like, okay, exactly who's going to benefit the most from this content and what does it fall in line with in my overall content and scale. So actually, let me try to open up a new item just for you to see like this in action, because I do think this is really cool. So let me go ahead and see how to do that. Actually, I think the best way would just be I can just create, right? Let me just see how to do it. But also let me add a note section is here. So notes. So notes will be like just like, your quick notes on what this article is all about, and you can just write down things unstructured. So let me go ahead and make a new item here. I just want to make sure that it works. So new article, let's say. New article here. And then the messaging module should ideally populate right now, as you can see. Okay, so we need to drag it down from this section. Okay, got it. I figured out how it works. So let me go ahead and go back into here. So basically how this works is I have this section here, which shows you all the messaging modules that are currently open that you've created, obviously, for yourself, that you can really see like, hey, these are all the different, themes I have, the storylines, personas, the ways that I can send out contents, right? And then we can drag these down to better define the content that I'm writing. So this is the first step that you're starting to already like really fine tune the content piece, right? And we're still all in the planning stage, which is amazing to me, right? By the way, because we're still just planning, right? And it's already made it so much easier. So let me show you a bit about how this works. So I'm just gonna make this opened up a little bit for you guys so it's easier to see. And then, oops, I took a screenshot by accident. And then we can go ahead and say drag down to better define the content that I'm sharing. That's fine. Okay, so basically what's going to happen here is that I have these questions I need to answer, right? What am I sharing, which is a storyline? Who am I writing for, is my personas, and how does it fit into my regular content, which is my series and themes? Here's where I'm also going to make a fine adjustment based, contrast what I did before. I actually recommend you start with the theme because the theme is really important to bring in all the different ideas that you're talking about and making sure that this is consistent to what you normally write about. And so what we're going to do here is how does this fit in to what I normally, to what I'm known for? So that's a theme, right? Theme is like what you're known for, right? Again, people can come to Quake Street to learn about being intentional, making work fun. These are things, taking L control, right? Life control. These are things that are very in tune with our brand. But then next is what am I sharing, right? What storyline or what problem does this article solve? So recently I've gotten into a very like strong problem-based approach, and you guys can debate with me on this too because I think it's very interesting. But for me, like I found that the content that works best for me and the ones that I'm most motivated to write and most people are most motivated to read are the ones that solve a very real problem for you. So like for example, if I have something that's going to be fitting into, you know, life management system, people that have a problem with not having a life management system or having a problem with their current life management system will definitely want to read that article, right? So the problem statement has to be within the realm of that storyline that you're writing. And the thing about storylines is you can continuously add more and more to them. You don't have to just stick with those two. And storylines can end, right? So if after you solve the problem to its completion, then end the storyline. But ideally, when you have a storyline, you should be able to go ahead and like have like a whole section, like a whole category of like, hey, these are all the articles that are solving X problem, right? How to be creative, how to find a career that you love, how to be adventurous in your life, how to XYZ, right? So these are storylines. So if you want to, I can also add some more detail here to help you understand what a storyline is. But for example, like, um, yeah, well, maybe I'll write it down somewhere else. But yeah, just know for a fact that storylines are meant to be more project focused. Solve this problem, move on. Who am I writing for and what do they care about? Well, that's for persona. That's really clear and important to me, obviously, because I need to make sure that what I'm writing for fits the right audience, right? Writing something for students may be different than writing something for a second winder. Writing something for creative who's starting their first business may be very different from someone who's also a SaaS student as well. And of course, there's people that can fit both categories, but it's also very important for you to be certain about who you're going to write about. And then here's where I'm going to say format. So what is the best way to share this information? So this is format. Okay, so basically you can see like this is very flexible, right? So that let's say I'm going to be writing something about being intentional, right? Like this. It's going to be for the storyline about a life management system. The persona is going to be for students. Maybe I'm creating a student library of sorts, helping them plan out their upcoming school projects. And then the format for this, well, I got to figure out like, do students prefer a live stream? Do they prefer just a video? Do they prefer, and maybe I can put some more details here just to help you understand that as well, right? So Systems for a Better Life basically is a YouTube videos. Friday live stream is YouTube live stream. Family Without Borders is YouTube video. Newsletters is obviously newsletters, but I can add that. So it's like weekly newsletter, and articles is just ad hoc articles. I don't add anything about that. But for example, you can see like exactly like, which medium may work. And also you might have more. You might have like TikTok, you might have Instagram, you might have Twitter. These are all different formats in which you can figure out what exactly is the best way to reach your audience. And for now, I'm just going to do an example, Friday live stream. So this makes it really easy for you to go ahead and start planning out the content for you, right? And dragging it down and then just being able to move on like that. So right here, I'm going to drag all this into one big toggle and we're going to call this planning, okay? So plan your content. So all this is going to be within plan your content. And ideally, I would suggest that this takes roughly, again, I wouldn't do anything more than 2 or 3 pomodoros. So this is 2 to 3, let's put a tomato. 2 to 3 pomodoros, and planning your content, let's make that a nice red. Okay, so planning your content is actually, what's the status? Idea, right? So gray, maybe gray. So after we go from gray, then we go to red. Okay, so here's plan your content. I'll make a div here, but you can see like what's really cool about Notion is that we're able to come into here just within the templates of any, for example, articles that you're about to write, and start really planning out exactly the step-by-step process in which you're going to go through creating a new piece of content. And we're just showing you like from stage 1 onwards, and we're going to keep adding right now, right? But you can see already the power of being able to have like immense clarity. Like now, whenever I write content, and it has been for the last like year or so, I don't really have to worry about exactly what I'm writing. Like the format of it's going to be very consistent. It's going to be high quality every time because I know exactly what I need to do. I need to get at least 3 shareable nuggets of wisdom. I need to be sure about, how it's going to fit in with all my greater content. And then I move on, right? Okay, so how do we get something from, ready to start to in progress? So for that, usually I kind of think of it as what is the current things I'm trying to write about. So for example, as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, um, right now in content creation week, creativity week, right? This is the week that we've defined within the community as we want to be more creative. How can we do that? So obviously anything to do with creativity is probably the right time to release an article of that type, of that sort, right? So usually how I think about that is, okay, so taking an article from ready to start to in progress. Okay, so how I do this is, so let's go ahead and put a div here. Um, so what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to put these into here. I'll explain that in a second. Okay, so when you're ready to take an article from ready to start in progress, I would recommend a few things here. So I recommend figuring out, so actually one more here too, in progress. Um, okay, let me think about the best way to word this. But what I want to explain is that when you're coming into here, at this stage, you're trying to figure out exactly how you're going to flesh out your content. So maybe flesh out content, flesh out your content. And fleshing out your content, in my opinion, should take between no more to between, I really think four pomodoros is good enough. Okay, so 4 tomatoes. But it's up to you. You can do 4 plus pomodoros, so it's up to you. But basically here, what I want to explain is that in here, we're going to choose a topic, right? So we're going to break down what our content topic is. We're going to do research. So we're going to go ahead and do some research. You're going to put down what your point of view is, and then you're going to make a title. And the title usually has a quick guide as well. For me, I like to put title as the last, but I know some people that like to start with the title. So it's really up to you how you want to rearrange this. You can move title up or you can move title down. It's completely up to you. But the idea here is that based on your planning, go through each step and flesh out the details, right? So what I'm suggesting here is you can go ahead and make sure that for every single item here, so for example, again, if my topic earlier was I want to create something for students, I want to create, like, I can just keep it open too, by the way, I don't need to close it, right? So I'm creating something for students. Okay, that's also messaging modules, all messaging modules. I'm gonna stuff that in here so it gets out of our way for now. Let's make this purple as well so we can visually see that it's different than everything else. Okay, so basically, we know that these are our three shareable nuggets of wisdom. We have done this stage to figure out, what's the theme, storyline, etc., etc. So now we figure out, what's the topic, right? What are we gonna write about? Um, and maybe we start a title first, maybe we don't, but then we talk about the research, how many other people have written about this already, right? So we can go ahead. Who else has written about this already? Who can I source, right? So this is importance, right? Sourcing. Choose a topic. What topic um, defines what I want to share about? So here is where you're going to be really clear, like, and the idea here, honestly, is I want you to come up with prompts that help you because it's really important for you in your own system to just write down prompts that will stimulate thinking for you and for nobody else like that. Why I think this is so important is because every time you go through an iteration of writing content, you're going to figure out what specific sentences trigger you to be more creative, to be more intentional of your work, to be more excited about your work. And all these are different things that only you know that I won't know, right? But I'm giving you the space to put inside these sections to help you really come up with the best way for you to create your content. So, what's your point of view? Um, is this an opinion article? What do you think about it? Right? So if it's an opinion article, you can share what you think about it. Title, I have a guide for you, right? So you can be like, ways to do something, what are the ways to do something, how to create something, blah, blah, blah. And again, this is all very centered on the idea of problem-based approach, right? Problem solving. So all these are different ways to solve a specific problem. And I hope that this article, is going to help them with that situation that they're going through. Okay, but in this fleshing out content, like this is going to be my ready to start stage. Again, it's very color coded, so it should be very easy for you to follow. And then the last step after this, so not last step, but the next step after this is going to be actually writing the contents, right? So let's go ahead and write out the content. So we can go ahead and write out your content. And here again, between 4 pomodoros or more, but so 2 to 4 pomodoros. But I want to give you a tip here. So the tip here is that I don't want you to spend more time writing your content than fleshing out your content. And here's my explanation why. When you're going ahead to write your content, it's very important for you to have written it with the intensity and the intentionality that you've already put into earlier when you're mapping out everything in the big picture. Because often than not, when you're actually writing your content, you can get lost in the details. And it's really useful to have the main headers or the main content topics, the research, the point of views, the titles, really fine tune exactly the way that you want to write. So my suggestion for you is always measure twice, cut once. Try to have your planning take more time than your actual execution, if possible, right? And if not, at least have a healthy distribution. Don't not plan and write, but don't also plan too much and not write. So for here is I have this whole section here, and thankfully this one I do really like because I fine-tuned it a lot. But break down your introduction, right? Put down your section. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, put down the conclusion. But this is how you're going to really map out the flesh of this and write out everything that you need and get your first draft going. So this is essentially like putting down all your different content and separating them out. Like you should be answering these in paragraphs, right? So each paragraph you can answer, and in the end you smush them all together and make your first draft. So make your first draft. So here, your first draft again is 2 to 4 uh, pomodoros, so tomatoes. So make your first draft like this. And again, of course, you can scale everything down, but what I'm trying to give you is proportions, right? So if you're going to be spending 2 to 3 pomodoros for planning your content, spend a bit more fleshing that out. If you want to spend a bit more, spend a bit less writing your content, and then spend a bit less also managing your first draft. So that's the idea that I'm trying to give you guys. But make your first draft is very simple. Take the points you've written in the step above and make them into coherent paragraphs. Okay. And then you can also ask yourself some questions. And then here it's completely up to you, right? But ask yourself questions like, you know, um, what is the structure I want to write? How many paragraphs do I need, right? Is it a narrative? Or is it something that's more, exploratory, right? Like what kind of content am I trying to write here? And how do I want to present that? And how many, maybe even go to the fine tune of how many words you want per section, so on and so forth. But this is where you start making your first draft, and then you can go ahead from there. Okay. So next thing I like to do, and this is where it gets like into categories, which is like really more for yourself to fine tune, because this is going to be different for everybody. I'll be very, very clear on this. The next one is review, right? So get your get reviewers. So reviewers basically for me is I like to get someone else to review my content. So ideally I have someone come in and take my review and pick it apart, right? So what you can do is for each person that will come and help critique your work, make a copy for them to comment on and paste it below. So like for example, you have example person 1, and then we have the draft is going to be here, so you can place the draft here, and then you can put revisions, revised copy, draft plus comments, and then if they want to, they can also write a revised copy for you below that. So this is an example of how you can perhaps fine tune it for yourself. But this is something that I really like because it gives me a great opportunity to involve the community into the content that I'm writing, right? And of course, if you have a community of your own or you have family or friends that really want to help you in the way that you want to express yourself, definitely give them an early copy and give them a way to come in and contribute and add on. And of course, you just need to keep duplicating this every time you have a new person come on board. So I think that is a very, very scalable way to get started. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do something like this. You can just paste it in there and so on and so forth. Make a copy from the comment on for each reviewer. You can also use this stage to do your own revisions. So when I say, review 1, review 2, it can be even your own reviews. So I think this best thing to do usually whenever I say like, hey, bring someone else in or bring someone, that will help you with XYZ, you can also do it yourself as well. And the system also makes it easy for you to keep track of how many revisions you did and what you did in those revisions. And you can slowly fine tune exactly your own process and how you can write better content. Okay, so that's a review process. Let's take a look at the next step. Next step is publishing distribution. So that's very simple. So hit publish, right? So a lot of times we don't hit publish because we get scared of hitting publish. We're worried about, what will people think? Also it might be just a bit difficult in the sense that publishing might be hard for us. We might think it's, tough because we have to go to X website and do things. So make a checklist, right? How do I publish my work, right? So make a checklist. So maybe the first thing you do is you copy and paste to WordPress, right? As an example, fix, add links and sources, fix formatting, publish to publish to publish privately, and then fix formatting, and then add to a collection, so on and so forth. But this is really like your own to-do list, right? This is completely up to you. You figure out how this one works for you. But basically, you go ahead and make your checklist on like how are you going to publish your work, what are the steps to do, and just make sure it's super, super clear for you so that you don't have to like worry about and think about complicated things when all you want to do is just hit publish and make it go. And of course, over due time, try to make this a more automated process. Maybe you just finish writing in Notion and then it can already get published. There's a lot of different ways that you can now publish yourself online. And really, the tool is not your limitation anymore at all. Okay. And the last thing I have is, oops, sorry, this should be up here, distributed. Um, distribute your content. So here is going to be very, very clear. Distributing content is probably going to be the most fun part for you, but of course it takes some time to be very, very okay with the process. But distribute content is who do you think will appreciate this content? Where do they live, right? Where do they live? So when you go ahead and distribute your content, the really important thing you want to do is just to make sure that you know exactly who you're going to try to reach with this, right? So um, I usually aim for around three. So you aim for three people or three sources you're going to share this with, right? It could be more, obviously, but three is usually a good number. So it could be like on Facebook, it could be on Reddit, it could be with a friend. Maybe they'll share with people. Maybe it could be on Telegram. Maybe it could be in Gilded in our community. Like, who do you think will care most about this content, and where do they live, and how can you get it to them and deliver to them appropriately? So for this one, I actually have a template for this in the sense that I have a where am I sharing thing, right? So for the where am I sharing, I wonder if I have a section for this. No, I don't. Do I? What's this action center? I should, yeah, there we go. Where to distribute. So where to distribute, generally I have this section here, which tells me, a bit about like where I have already mapped out some distribution points. So for example, some backlink sites, Google search, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you might want to do it. But this is basically where I can consider distributing, and wherever I do end up distributing, I can just put in the list there easily, put 1, 2, 3, and that's where I want to share it. So you can see like everything has like a time frame, right, in which you can do it. Maybe I'm even going to like lower everything. Try to do 1 Pomodoro for plan your content. Flesh out your content, maybe try doing 3, 2 to 3. Nothing more than that, honestly. 2 to 3. Writing your content should definitely be a 2 or a 1, so 1 to 2. It depends how fast you write too, okay? I'm not trying to rush your content. Your first draft should also just be 1 to 2 because you don't want to take too long. It's just a quick article. Reviewers, this one, your review process will probably take around 1 Pomodoro or more. So maybe 2 tomatoes. Hit publish, this should take 1 Pomodoro, so 1 tomato. And then distribute your content. This should also take another 1 tomato. Okay, so you can see kind of like how the time is going to be distributed, I guess, pretty evenly across all of this. And the way I like to actually map out the time is I'll have a timer here, right? That I can go ahead and use. So I'm going to just use this timer. And then you can just press start, and every 25 minutes, you just record what you did in that 25 minutes. And when it's completed, just drag it down in, and then you know that's done. So this makes it a really easy way for you to keep track of all the work you've been doing and just not get lost in your writing. Because that's something that I personally have a problem with. You very easily get lost in my writing. So then when that happens, I really like to make sure that I am being intentional about the time that I'm spending here. Okay, and then I can just delete everything else here because I already redeveloped this. Before I publish, yes, so this is also something that I have a publishing checklist. So before you publish, and then this is just a checklist for myself. Let's go ahead and make this into like the proper bullet point notes. So we go ahead and we put a section before publishing. Publishing. Okay, perfect. So that's going to be the steps of how I would go through and create content that's more in article format. And you can see we've already made it so clear, right? Based on every single status property that we have here, we can have a different color coded section for us to go through that's really going to help us make the best out of our writing journey and adventure. So the next thing I want to show you, and this is where I'm going to spend just a little, probably a lot less time going through it because you already know the steps, but I want to show you how it might work for videos because maybe that's something you're curious about. Give me just a quick second. I just also wanted to move this messaging module out so that doesn't end up clogging our work. There we go. Okay, so for articles, now whenever I click article, you can see that it's auto-generated for us. So we have this for every single new article that we're about to write, we will have a corresponding template for it, which makes it really easy for us to do stuff, like you see there. So let's go ahead and do like a video example. So video example. And let's go ahead and check out the video template here. So very similar here. We have this chunks of work, which we can do. In this one, I have a slightly different kind of step for this, but you can think of it as one and the same. But for here, you plan out the content first, right? You have your messaging here. Again, same things. Who am I sharing to? Where am I sharing all those things? Who am I sharing for? Here we also have a section for writing headlines and everything. So I don't know what's going on here. Just like double everything, but um, for here, we can basically start planning out like what's the title we're gonna write, right? Based on we have a tool here that helps you, write better headlines for your videos. What's the thumbnail that we're gonna have for the video, right? And usually people like to start with a thumbnail and title, and also like who you're sharing it to, and then moving forward with that. We also tell a story, right? Who is the character? What do they want? Why can't we get what they want? So this makes it really easy for us to go ahead and plan out everything that we need to plan out. Also have the description. Then we have the script. We can write out the script, everything here. Thank your patrons if you have any. Editing your videos, so editing your elements, color grading, voice editing. So all these different steps should be very, very clear to you exactly what you want to do and how you want to share it to the world. And what I'm going to do right now is, because this one is pretty much really well built already, what I'm going to do is just start mapping out like how we did before, right? The planning out the content, fleshing out content, making them into toggles so it's easier to kind of hide them out when it's not so relevant anymore. So let's go ahead and do the plan to content section. So plan to content. So here is where I'm going to put everything in. So we have all this messaging stuff. Let's see what's going on here. I think this is the older one. So I'm going to delete this one. This one's the older one. This one's a newer one. Perfect. I see it there. We're going to drag that into here. So plan out your content, right? So again, I'm just going to compare and contrast. Plan out our content. We also do want shareable nuggets of wisdom here as well. So I'm going to also do the same thing. I might even just copy all of this. So let's go ahead and do this. Messaging modules, I'll keep this one here because this one is the main one. But same thing here, make shareable nuggets of wisdom and then move on with your planning. So here I'm going to make this gray as well, just like that. So you can see how your work is very easily applicable towards, different forms of media as well. So every time you create like one of your specific, let's say article, templates, content creation generation process, just know that you can use this in all your different contents and just make minor tweaks here and there. So very important about that, okay? So plan out your content is the first thing we want to do. Then the next thing is flesh out your content. So flesh out your content. Flesh out your content. I think this is where we're going to talk about the story and everything. So for now, I'm not going to put that there. What we have to do is one more thing is plan out your content, um, plan out the distribution, I guess, not distribution, but plan out the packaging. Plan the packaging. So when I say plan the packaging, basically I consider like the title and the thumbnail as packaging. So what we can do here is based on the content, we can plan out the packaging for this. And we can do something like, oh, that's fine, we can do this. Plan the packaging. I consider this still part of the getting the idea stage. So plan the packaging. For example, what other videos have I seen that are similar to this topic, right? Because something definitely is out there. There's a lot of content out there. Is there something that already matches this, right? So put that down. And then what you can do then based on that, you can write your own thumbnail, your own title and everything, and you can plan that out for yourself. So plan the packaging, super, super important. Then fleshing out your content here. So this one is going to be the ready to start stage. So in the ready to start stage, I'm going to have this whole tell the story, story structures, all those things. So flesh out my content. I'm going to put that here. Story structures, I can use that to help guide my writing. So right here, I'm going to just put that at the top here. So we can think about like a 3-act structure. I actually got this from Ali Abdal, right? So he was very helpful in sharing his process for writing content or making videos. And he was very helpful in sharing this. So I definitely credit this to him, but he has a way where he thinks about, what's the climax of it? What's the hero's journey? Everything like that. But everything I like to do is really just mapping out exactly who, what, why, um, how. And like I said in the beginning of this stream, if people don't know exactly these questions, they're not going to be very engaged with your content as a whole. So really important to make sure that all that is really fleshed out. And again, that's the ready to start process. Then the next step, again, just reading back, is writing out your content. So writing your content is about making your introduction, making out your description, all those kind of things, your script even. So that's really important. So writing out your content. So I'll put a description here. I might even do the script. So write the script. And then we can go ahead and record the video after that. So description, write the scripts. And you don't have to be like very specific with the scripts. Like some people like to have like word by word. Some people like to have just a general idea. It's really completely up to you. So definitely figure out like where and when you want to talk about certain things. But the general idea is that have a good hook, have a good intro, have good value, point to a custom playlist, thank whoever you need to thank, sponsors, patrons, whatever, and then move on just like that. So that's writing out the content. This one is going to be more of the in progress stage. And of course, you also want to do filming, right? Film your content. So you have a checklist for filming your content, right? How do you film? Which days you want to film, right? So you may want to break down your filming in days. So plan out where and when. Do your storyboarding here, right? So you might have some storyboarding, and this one is complete in your court. I won't have any say on how you want to plan this out. I think this one is really completely up to you. But from here, you can just plan out your filming in days. So plan out where and when, okay? And the final thing is edit your content. So edit your content. So edit your content here. This one is going to be, let's make another stage actually for editing, which is, so probably review, right? Review is probably closer to editing. So review, so it's blue. So review, you can add elements, you can add color grading, whatever you'd like. Oops. So we're just going to drag that into here. And then those will be your steps. And then the final thing is distribution. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, actually hit publish first, hit publish. So same thing, hitting publish here has a has a step-by-step process, which I am not going to be familiar with yours, but for me, it's going to be a checklist, right? Upload unlisted video on YouTube. Um, make sure uh, make a short link, etc., etc., etc. So this one is really completely up to you as well. So I'm just gonna make this into, I believe it's green. So you're almost done now. You have a green step here, just like so. And then finally is distribution, right? So distribute your content like this. So distribute your content. I'm just gonna copy and paste that. So simple as that. Like this is the steps really to write really good content. And again, here I will suggest things like, one Pomodoro for planning out your content. So one Pomodoro kind of packaging. Really, I wouldn't spend more than one Pomodoro for that. Flesh out your content is 100% going to be 2 to 3 Pomodoros. No question about that. So 2 to 3 Pomodoros. Writing your content is going to be 1 to 2. So let's copy that over. 1 to 2 Pomodoros. Film your content 1 to 2 Pomodoros. Edit your content 1 to 2. Hit publish. Usually only 1 Pomodoro. And then you're good. Just like that. So I hope that this was helpful for you in seeing like a bit into how you can create your own custom workflows for not just content creation, honestly, but for anything that has like a step-by-step process or stages to go through. The really important thing I want to share with you guys in regards to creating your own systems and expressing your creativity is that you can really do it in any way that you want. The system is there for you to customize, and I really hope that you take advantage of all the different resources that we've included to help you customize the systems to make it work in a way for you and really ensure that everything that you have is so perfectly customized that you're able to really just not have to think so much every time you create something and rather just focus so much on your or your thinking on the creative task at hand instead of thinking about the administrative work, thinking about what you have to do next. Just look at what you have to do, write that stuff down, then move on. And in that way, you can hopefully spend a lot less time worrying about all the different, mundane things you have to do and actually focus on what matters. So, lovely to have you guys here. Thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. We'll be here every Friday, so definitely check us out. And if you want to be part of our community initiatives, part of our community events, do definitely join us in the community. We have a lot of exciting events this weekend to help you level up your craft. So, hope to see you there soon.